You're only as happy as your happiest child. And because of that, it is totally understandable and normal for you to constantly think about how you can become a better parent. Parenting is extremely exhausting and challenging because our beautiful children are designed to trigger our deepest wounds. And so it makes sense that we're trying to figure out how we can show up for our partner, how we can show up for our children, and how we can still maintain a sense of self while juggling all of these different aspects. In this video, I'm going to break down the 4 most important things that you need to understand so that you can show up as a whole, safe, authentic parent to sustain and support your beautiful child, for them to also be able to live a magnetic, radiant, and exciting life. By the end, you will understand the only energy hack you need to know to become the most aligned, energetic parent and manage not only your energy, but also your child's energy. I'm going to teach you where you should look in your child's human design chart to really understand their deep core needs. And I'm going to give a parenting tip for each energy type in their human design so that you can show up authentically aligned and be an inspiring example for your children to follow and lead and live an exciting and bountiful life. Let's dig deep. Before we start, I want to just take a moment to give you bits and pieces of knowledge that have really helped me to understand and look at my dynamic with my child from a different perspective. And so if you don't know, human design is made out of a bunch of things. But one of the things that I've been really digging into has been Kabbalah, which is the mystic side of Judaism. And so when we look at the Kabbalistic understanding of why we have children and how our children are meant to interact with our own karma, or what they call tikkun, it's really interesting to see that what the sages say is that our children, until the age of 12, 13, their life experience, their soul has made a contract or a pact so that whatever they go through in those first 12, 13 years of life is actually meant to help our soul expand and grow. And so instead of trying to look at your child and always trying to, I'm sure you're not blaming your child, but instead of looking at your child, or sometimes we can fall into that situation where there's like pent up emotions and we try to blame our children. But instead of looking at our children as somebody who is creating something in our life, I really want you to look at our children as an opportunity for us to look into ourselves. So instead of trying to figure out what's wrong with our child, what does our child need, that is a beautiful aspect of obviously trying to cover our child's need. But I think it's interesting to add this new layer where we started asking, what is this child's experience actually awakening in me? What is whatever my child is triggering? What is whatever my child is going through? What are the experiences my child is communicating to me? How are they impacting me? What meaning do they have to my own life? How can I trace them back to some trauma that I can identify that comes from my own childhood? And so really understanding or having a new lens of perception to look at our children and ask us, what is what they're going through actually helping me understand, helping me grow, rise to the occasion? Because if you have a child, you know that there's nothing more challenging and nothing more rewarding than trying to figure out how we can attend their needs and make them become, or like not even make them, because I truly believe humans are pure and innocent, but how we can maintain, sustain, and amplify the beautiful gifts that our magnetic, magical children have come into this world to share with the world. And so in this video, I'm going to break down what you need to understand so that you can best support your child, so that you are prepared, so that you don't feel constantly burned out, and deep human design, mystical knowledge to help you have a new perspective on this very challenging time in the season of life where we are parents. Let's dive deep. Let's talk about the energy hack that I need you to understand. Once you understand this, no matter what energy type you are as a parent, no matter what energy type your child is, you're going to understand your energetic dynamic. And so the most important thing to look at is going to be your sacral center. Your sacral center is the energy center that is one above the root. It is the height of your belly button. And basically, there's 2 groups of energy types. You can be a projector, manifestor, and reflector, which means you have an open sacral. An open sacral means you do not have defined energy, means that you will amplify other people's energy, and you are more prone to burnout or overexerting yourself in today's society. And then we have the generators and the manifesting generators who will always have a defined sacral center, which means they have continuous energy, which is just like running, continuous, aligned, consistent. And so the main conflict that arises when we're raising a child is the one of energy. How can I be able to sustain my child's needs without burning out? I truly believe that not necessarily burnout, but the big teaching and lesson of being a parent is this self-sacrifice. We sacrifice our needs, especially in the first 3 years of our children. It is just so important for the child's development, but also it is a lesson for us as parents. I really believe it's a rite of passage where we learn what it means to love unconditionally, where we sacrifice our sleep, where we sacrifice our mental health, where we sacrifice our hunger, all our most basic intrinsic needs that have been, usually if we come from a semi-healthy background, are going to be met. Like when we're thirsty, we can drink. When we're hungry, there's food. All of these very basic, intrinsic, animalistic, instinctive survival needs we have usually covered. And then our child comes into our life and then we have to go to sleep early, or they wake us up 5 times a night, or, we don't have time to eat because we need to feed the child, and whatever. It's a constant self-sacrifice of putting somebody else's needs before our own needs. And this can be very draining. And I think there is something in this parenting, when it's a conscious parenting, where we are attuned to our child's needs, when we read our child's expression, that it just bonds us to our children in a way that is biologically meant to be in this way, so that our child develops a safe sense of self and a loving sense of self. And so putting aside that I don't believe that we can be just super aligned parents, because there's part of sacrifice that will entail being a parent. And I think it's a myth and a lie to pretend that that won't happen. I think it is the rite of passage. I think it is what we're learning as parents. I want to give you the energy hack so that you understand and can optimize energy in the best possible way. And so what happens is that when we have 2 open sacral centers, there is a symmetry, there is an understanding, there is a sameness. And so if you are an aligned projector, aligned reflector, and aligned manifestor, and you have a manifestor, reflector, or projector child, there's going to be an intrinsic understanding of when to rest, when to take a break, not to force your kids to do 400 different activities. You will want to chill with your child. This might be lying longer in bed, no matter if the parenting advice is like, get up every day because your child needs to know it's daylight. Just tune into your own sense of rhythm and sense of self, and how much you can give and how much you can't give. And really make sure that you have a support system that allows you to rest, so that you can actually sustain the rest your child needs as well. So I know this is really hard, especially if you're a working mom or somebody who's passionate about building something, or there's just stuff to get done in the house. Maybe you need to clean, maybe you need to empty the dishwasher. Try to rest when your child is resting, and allow your non-sacral child to teach you how to rest. Allow them to really look at how they're acting, look at how they're enjoying their rest periods, and try to tune yourself into this, very regulated nervous system, so that your accumulated energy doesn't trespass on your child's accumulated energy, and then you're both wired up and none of you can calm down. So if you're somebody who has an open sacral center, it is so essential that you learn and become regulated so you're not overstressed, because your child will mimic your way of dealing with rest and energy. And so if your child has an open sacral and they're seeing that you're in distress because of your energetic deficit, and you're trying to make up and trying to pretend you're an energy type you're not, they will try to mimic. So if you have a child that has difficulty sleeping, For somebody who has an open sacral, if you have an open sacral, co-sleeping is not a problem. So you will see this anyways. But children that have an open sacral can have an easier time being co-regulated by a parent because they take that energy in and they amplify it. So it doesn't matter if it's a generator, a manifesting generator, co-sleeping, or putting a child down that has an open sacral, or bringing them into bed and like just giving them that calming energy, because the definition of the sacral generator and manifestor energy will calm the child down because they're influencing them and teaching them how to come down. But an aligned projector, reflector, or manifestor can also teach an open sacral child to calm down if they're really regulated, and can teach them the hacks because they know what it means to be wired up. So one of the cases is understanding if you have an open sacral child and an open sacral parent. What happens if you have a defined sacral child and you have an open sacral parent? The definition of the child will amplify the parent, and there's two options. There's the option that the defined sacral child, meaning if you are a projector parent, a manifestor parent, or a reflector parent, but your child, a generator or manifesting generator, what will happen is that their definition can amplify your energy. So your child can actually give you more energy than you usually have to be able to sustain whatever energy that child needs. On the contrary, if that goes on for too long and you don't rest when the kid is resting, because interestingly enough, manifesting generators and generators are very good at taking a nap. They're very good at sleeping and calming down. So it's usually more the open sacral children that have more issues sleeping and calming down because they're in overload from picking up the energy and not having tools to calm down. And so if you have a defined sacral baby, they usually are less fussy with sleep. And so you can use their energy to amplify yours, but also it's important that when you are resting as the parent, that you take some space where you are not around the energy of the child. So maybe while the child is napping and you want to nap, you have somebody take care of the child so that you have space. You need energetic space to calm down. This can be support of your parents, support of your partner, support of a friend. I know in this time and age, our community, you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. I absolutely believe it takes a village to raise a child. It's not always available to us, but this is one of those things that I really would put up into the high priority of figuring out how you can rest without being within a radius of like 2 meters of your child. So they can still sleep in your room, but maybe they're sleeping on your partner's side instead of your side, for example. And so what happens when both are defined with their sacral, then energy is going to be matching. So a generator child and a generator parent are going to understand each other very well. They're going to not be extremely influenced through the energy. So what can also happen is that if you have an open sacral child, meaning you have a projector, a manifestor, a reflector child, and you have a generator, manifesting generator parent, that because of that defined sacral, the child is constantly amplifying and overwired, and it like never stops and has like ADHD signs because it is constantly influenced by both parents and their intense energy. So really making sure that everybody's aligned and that everybody understands their energetic needs and is able to create space for the child, but also for the parent to be able to rest and to have either like a yoga nidra practice or a breathwork practice or any practice that allows you to regulate your nervous system around your child will be so beneficial to not burn out, communicate your needs, and be able to understand your child and their need and how your energy interacts. So the first most important thing is going to look at, is your child's sacral center defined or not, and how those energy interacts. Because if you have a defined sacral center, you are dominant energy. That means that you will influence people around you with the amount of energy you have or the amount of energy you don't have. And if you have an open sacral center, what will happen is that you will take that energy in and you will amplify it. And so if you're constantly influenced by outside energies, it can give the system like the sense of being wired up and having difficulties calming down, just being overstimulated at all times. I'm going to share with you the parts that I think are most imperative you get familiar about your child's human design chart. Because these are going to be aspects that help you understand that they're going through their own lessons, so you don't personalize it, so you don't feel like they're acting out, but you really start understanding your child through the energetic perspective and have more empathy and understanding, and also can access different tools that will help them navigate their life and cope with whatever comes their way. And so we're going to look at different parts of the human design chart. You can check out their human design chart for free in the link in the description box below. And the 4 most important things that I think that you should look out for in your child's chart, first of all, is going to be pretty basic, but I think it's important, is the not self theme. So the not self theme, depending on the energy type, for the manifestor, it's going to be anger. For the projector, it's going to be bitterness. For the generator and the manifesting generator, it's going to be frustration. And for the reflector kid, it's going to be disappointment. The reason I think that the not self theme is really important to catch is because when you see your child unhappy, frustrated, and acting out, you can often tie it to their not self theme. They are expressing that life is putting them in a situation where they're having to act out of alignment with their integrity, with their inner compass, with their purpose, and they don't yet have the understanding or the vocabulary to communicate that. And so each child in each not self theme has a way that we can get our child to understand their energetic authenticity and give them the tools to get back to how they're meant to show up. So if you have a manifestor child that is angry, we're not here to make them feel bad about that anger. We're here to help them understand that they've become angry because they have forgotten their strategy, which is they need to inform. And so when we can teach our child already in such a young formative years how to utilize their not self theme, not to create more shame and blame, but to use it as a signpost to recognize where they fail to collaborate with the universe so that they can show up aligned and authentic, we're giving them an incredible tool that helps them understand that it is safe for them to be authentic and show up as who they are and express their needs with the world. And so when we look at each energy type and each not self theme for our children, we will start to have a roadmap in helping them recognize what got them into the not self theme first, and what are the things that they need to take into account so that they can continuously have a more positive life experience. So the not self theme is going to be very important. The next, I want you to look at the human design chart and look at the energy centers. So I think the root center is going to be really interesting because it is connected to anxiety and pressure, which is something our children feel a lot, especially when they start going to kindergarten and into school. Why? Because they start having these other opinions, they start having expectations. And so if you have a child that has an open root energy center, it's really important that you give them time and space and that you do not rush them. And sometimes it can be that you have a defined energy center and only because of your presence there is already this impetus. So really be very mindful of the kind of pressure environment that you create. If this means waking up 10 minutes earlier to get them on time to school without rushing them, then do that. If they need 15 minutes longer to finish their plate because they're a slow eater, then give them that time. If they need to have their homework broken up in different pieces, just be mindful that if your child has an open root center, you need to give them more time and not rush them or stress them, because if not, they will procrastinate or they will feel overwhelmed and get into like this free zone very easily. High anxiety, anxiousness is going to be present in these children. If they have a defined root, then for them it is natural to be in a state of, just there is a capacity to hold stress and high intense situations. So let's look at the solar plexus. If your child has an open solar plexus, this means that they're very in tune with the emotions of the people around them. This means that they're highly empathetic. That means that they're highly overwhelmed by other people's emotion. But it also means that they don't really like confrontational conversations. They don't really like talking about their emotions because it's too much for their system. And so understanding that your child has an open solar plexus helps you understand that maybe if you're emotional as a parent, they will take on your energy and amplify it. And they might tell you things in a discussion or in a fight that they don't even mean, but they're just reflecting your energy. Or if there is I remember I had a client who grew up with a mother and a sister who were emotional and they were not emotional, meaning they were open. And for them, their sister and mother's emotional way was so overwhelming all the time that it was just very stressful for her system. So being mindful if your child has an open solar plexus means that we have to be mindful about our emotions and how we interact with their emotions, and not confronting our child constantly and trying to figure out what they're feeling, because they often don't have that strong access to their own feeling, because their goal is not about so much understanding what they're feeling, but they're here to sense what other people are feeling. And so when we look at the defined solar plexus, this is very important, because somebody who has a defined solar plexus will be an emotional energy type, meaning their decision making is based on emotional authority. And so if we have somebody who's emotional, we have to understand that when our child is emotional and they're going through an emotion high or low, they can't explain why. So if you have an emotional child and it's crying and it's sad and you don't really know what's going on, and this is like preteen, so it's not about hormonal imbalance and just like the natural evolution of, being a teenager. If your child is under the teenage years and you see them being highly emotional, don't try to always figure out, like, why are you crying? There's no reason for you to cry. No, there might actually not be a reason for them to cry. But their own emotional process, their own capacity to understand their emotions is what makes them emotional. So just allowing them to have that space to feel whatever they're feeling, and helping them understand that if they take distance and just look at their emotions, they will gain higher awareness without shaming them about them feeling intense emotions, even though there's no apparent reason for it, allowing them to just have their own narrative and having that emotional experience, and allowing them to just express it, even though you as a parent can't understand why, is imperative for their emotional health. And always understand that when we have an emotional child, or even as an emotional parent who has a defined solar plexus, when we're not allowed to express our emotions, they will get pent up as unwanted weight. So we can see a regulated, aligned emotional energy type or emotional authority when the person has a weight that they feel really comfortable at, and they don't have issues with putting on or losing weight. So that is a great indicator. And the last thing that I want you to look at is going to be the energy center of the spleen, because the spleen is intuition. The spleen is fear. It's not so much anxiety, but it is fear, it is worry, it is the sense of safety. And so when you have a child, also for yourself to understand, when you have a child that has an open spleen, you have to double check the environment they're in. You have to double check the people that they're with, because more often than not, a child that has an open spleen will find themselves in more dangerous, unhealthy situations than a child that has a defined spleen. So there's two options. If you have an open spleen, you will either fear the world and everything will be scary and you'll just want to be home and just being close to your primary caretaker and try to have probably more of an anxious attachment. And or the opposite, you can be a child that is so out of balance that you're craving that danger and that intensity, and you do not realize that you're walking into the wolf's mouth, and you're putting yourself and surrounding yourself with people who exhibit bad habits or that don't have your best interest at heart, or you're putting yourself at risk emotionally, physically, like with your health, what you're eating, the street that you just taken. There's a higher risk for children that have an open spleen to get into dangerous situations, have more accidents, more accident prone, picking up unhealthy habits or following the crowd, being under like peer pressure if you have an open spleen, that if your child has a defined spleen. The defined spleen child will have a very good sense of self, a very good sense of safety, and it's really imperative that you trust your child's intuition. If they are saying, no, I don't want to go here, don't take them there. If they're saying, no, I don't like this person, I don't want to hug this person, like oftentimes, depending on where you grew up with, there's a culture of like, oh, give your auntie 2 kisses, or like go hug your, whatever cousin. If the child really feels like they don't want to do that, do not force them to override their intrinsic sense of safety. This is so imperative to continuously to support your child in connecting to their own inner sense of self, to trusting that their intuition is right. And it's just going to give you a tool to really keep your child as safe as possible. Obviously, we can always just trust in a higher power, to like deal with the sense that we have a heart that's kind of like living outside of ourselves within our children. And obviously we I think it's quite natural to worry. But being aware of the child's spleen energy center is really important. If now you've gotten interested in understanding your child deeper on an energetic level, we have something called the source code. And the source code is a written human design analysis that is absolutely personalized to your child's design. So if you want to understand your child deeper in their gifts and what are the lessons they've come to learn and other tools that you could use to support them in their path to becoming the most wholesome, authentic, and vibrant self, then I recommend that you purchase the source code for your child to really get to know them in depth. Description is linked below. And now that we've gotten to understand a bit of our energetic dynamic, we've gotten to understand a bit about what are the most important things to understand within our child's design, I want to give some parenting tips to you depending on your energy type. They're going to be quick, they're going to be, applicable, because I am all about giving you information that is tangible and that you can put into practice as soon as possible. So let's get into it. My dear projector parent, I know it can be so draining and so tiring because we only have an X amount of energy, and we often feel that we are pushed to exhaustion by our children. Or I actually know a lot of projectors who want to be parents and who are scared to become parents because they feel that they won't have energy to support their children. And so again, I think part of, the lesson of being a parent is sacrificing, and it is a season of our life, and I think this is important, it is a season of our life where we will have to put our needs second so that we understand what unconditional love is and our child becomes a fully safe, healed, developed person. But it is also so important to show up as a healed, safe space for children. So when we're burned out, everything goes out of the window. So for you, my dear projector, use your beautiful guiding power to see your child and allow your child to have the sense of be fully seen and guided by you. Don't try to force it. Don't try to push it. Don't try to initiate, and really guide your child with all of your projector knowledge. Rest whenever you can. Prioritize you having a regulated nervous system because it will transpire to your child, and use all of the gifts that you have to deeply see your child to make them feel good about who they are and who they've come to be in this world. And I think that when you are a projector parent, it is just so inherent to you to cater to your child's need. So besides understanding the energy piece of really taking rest, going to bed early, resting when your kid is resting, and the same way that you do not want your calendar planned full with 1,000 things, understand what your child's energy type is and cater to their specific needs. If you're a generator parent, then you're here to really energize your children with the things that you love to do. Share the things that you're creating. Take them into the process of whatever it is that you're doing. Bring them on, like your bicycle rides and your nature adventures, or if you're painting or doing a collage, just like integrate your children and letting them be a part of the world that excites you. Because the more you share your excitement with your children, the more excited your children would be. Take the approach of, listen, this is what I love. Let me see if you love it as well. And most certainly, your children will be so impacted by your beautiful magnetic aura that they will jump on whatever it is that you're sharing with them, because they're so happy to be in your presence when you are lit up and excited. For the manifesting generator, you will bring so much adventure into your children's life. Be mindful of their energy, because as the most fastest, most energetic and independent energy type, it can often feel overwhelming for your children. So be really aware of your energy and your child's energy type so that you respect their space and their time. But within that, show them the things that you're excited about. Be unapologetic about the new things you're learning. Share your journey with your children so that they get to understand, so they are able to admire you, so that they're able to really applaud you from the sidelines, watching you do your thing. And so being this, groundbreaking, thought-provoking person in their life is going to bring such an amount of, adventure and energy and expansion, that the more you're able to show up aligned in a way that you are strongly aware of your child's energetic needs, you will be always just an inspirational person to have around, and they're going to be so excited and so grateful to have somebody who thinks so out of the box. And you know, your capacity to think out of the box also allows your children to grow up with such freedom where they're not stuck in this narrow-minded way of having to go through life. So that's so amazing for them. My dear manifestor parent, you are so powerful, and I want you to tune into this Zen rock energy. Really understand that because you are a manifestor, you already have your children's authority, so you do not need to use force to make it clear to them. You're really here to be this very divine, masculine energy where it's a safe space to come and hang out around you, because your core contribution to your family and your children is going to be peace. How can you bring more peace into your child's experience? How can you bring more peace into the moment where they're doing homework? How can you bring more peace when they're in distress and they're going through emotional turmoil? That is your main objective. It is not so much how you can be authoritarian, how you can initiate them into the world. It is more about how you can become this well of safety where they know they can come to you and you will protect them from whatever is happening out in the world. And the closer they are to you, the calmer they get, the safer they are, the more protected they feel, because you are really this incredible well of force that is here to create a safe space for your beautiful children. And my beautiful reflector, you're going to be such a magical parent, and you will deeply understand the uniqueness of each of your children or your child. And so the more you allow your essence to show up and take on your child's identity, take on your child's qualities, but also always make sure to show and present yourself to your children, so that they not only get the mirroring aspect of this incredible gift that you have, but they see the deeply feeling, highly sensitive, attuned to the world person that you are. Because you're going to be such an incredible reference to your children, assessing your well-being, assessing your state of mind, and looking at your children as a reflection of you and vice versa is going to be such a beautiful dynamic to see, like, oh, this is what I'm feeling. I know that I'm mirroring the feelings of my child, so that you can attend their needs in such a deep way, but also never forgetting to allowing your own authentic self to show, to be present as the mother that you are, the father that you are, and really, you know, be in tune with the things that are exciting to you. For you, your children are going to be such an incredible experience and experiment in understanding humans deeply, but also for your children, you're going to be such an incredible, just, you know, rare opportunity to look into a different perspective of life. It's like the veil will get, you know, put to the side, because your life is so magical and it's so full of surprises when you're aligned that you're allowing your children to see real magic happen in real life. Our children are so incredibly important to us, and they're so incredibly important for the world and the expansion of the world. And so it is really such an incredible opportunity that we have to contribute. And through our children, we're able to learn so much about ourselves. And so parenting is such an incredible, broad, intense, deep topic. I think it's really hard for me to talk about parenting without sprinkling a bit of my own beliefs. I try to always bring you information the best that I can, but for parenting, it is the thing that is just so close to my heart as being a mother myself, that I just feel every parent out there, every parent watching, every parent going through distress. I know that for me personally, it has been such a wild ride to become a mother. It has made me the woman that I am today. And it fills my everyday with challenges, and it also humbles me like nothing could ever humble me. So I really hope you've gotten some information out of this video that could help. I know that we can go into depth for each energy type, with each energy type, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to think about a way that I can support you best in parenting your child through the human design perspective. For me as a mother, it's really important not to over project and to like put my child into a human design box. So I don't really talk about my child's human design to her. I might talk about it the way that she's a Leo. I might mention that she's also a manifestor. I know, it's a fiery combo. But I might just use the things that I know, like, you know, her not self theme to guide her into her signature and, like, you know, support her authentic expression so that she gains confidence in who she is. But I'm not overly trying to fit her in a box or like forcing her to do things that don't come naturally to her. And so I would really appreciate if you would leave me a message in the comments. Just let me know what are things that you want me to get specific on. Should I make a course? I can just do like a small course on each energy type where I go more in depth. Let me know what you think could serve you best. Again, we have the source code, which I think is a great way to start learning and reading your child. But just let me know in the comments what questions you have, what things you want me to explore deeper, and how we can tackle this incredible, deep, personal, intense subject. Like, we can all get so triggered by parenting information. I just listened to like a 3-hour podcast that got me like deeply in my thoughts. So just let me know in the comments. I'm here to serve you. Sending you so much love. If you've enjoyed this video and you think it could help somebody else, please share it with them. Tag me if you share it with your community. It always gives me so much joy. We put so much time and effort into this video. So all your support means the world to me. Please like and subscribe this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, I don't care what anybody says. I love you.